This is how you solve any problem. You first identify your problem. Tony Robbins says the quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of the questions you ask yourself. It's essentially saying, what's the problem? Most people don't even know what their problem is. Then you brainstorm potential solutions in theory. You're like, here's the 10 things that could potentially work. Then you do pros and cons analysis. It could be how you feel, it could be your gut, it could be logic, it could be math, it could be whatever it may be. But you have a series of, okay, I have these 10 solutions. Which one am I going to go for? And often in business, you're asking what's the ROI, the return on investment for each one of these decisions. Then you make a decision. We always talk about this. You got to make faster decisions. The answer is on the other side of failure. You got to just get in the arena. But so you make a decision. Then you divide that solution, whatever you're trying to do. It could be making a website. It could be creating an email list. It could be launching meta ads, building your software. It could be reaching out to affiliates. It could anything. It could be fixing my marriage, whatever. You decide on a potential solution, and then you say, what are the tasks in order to actually do this? You already feel this famous. You can say, create a landing page for a book funnel for my book about leadership. Okay. And it'll make a series of decisions for you. It'll write some copywriting. It'll make a wireframe decision. It'll choose some branding for you, creating a bunch of decisions for you. And then all of a sudden just pops out a website. Now, why is it able to do this pretty well? Is because it's trained on websites and landing pages that perform, but nonetheless, it's making a series of decisions. What it's doing behind the scenes is writing code that's a series of tasks. PM means project management. You're choosing the order of the tasks. Once you have, these are the things that I need to do in order to solve the problem. Now I have to choose the softwares that I'm going to use in order to execute on each one of these tasks. Maybe this task is something from Deal. Maybe this task is Famous. Maybe this task is Supabase. Maybe this task is Canva. Maybe this task is using the phone to call someone, whatever. You're using a series of technologies to execute on these tasks. It could be Google Docs, it could be Microsoft Word. Right now I'm using Zoom and I'm using Chrome. Then you turn those into steps. Then you execute on each one of those steps in order. Then you get the results and you pivot based on the results, and the results will tell you what the new problem is. Does this make sense? It's like this is decision-making framework. And then you're executing based on the potential solutions. So this is the old way. And at every single step, there's usually a human involved. So who's the person that decides what the problem is? Usually the boss. The person that's deciding what are we actually going to try to solve. That's the CEO or the owner of the company. And then they may have a team or maybe themselves come up with different solutions. Eventually, once you get to the execution stage, for larger companies, you might have 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Maybe you have hundreds of people that are executing on that plan. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So this is the old way. Here's the new way. The new way is that you tell synthetic intelligence to solve a problem. Synthetic intelligence executes. And then based on what it does, you pivot by telling it to solve something else. Do you see the difference? So what is synthetic intelligence doing? You give it a problem to solve. The bigger the problem, the better it is. Then it will brainstorm solutions, decide what are the best potential solutions. It will make a decision. It will divide the solution into a series of tasks and in what order. Then it will choose which softwares to use. Then it will execute on each software individually, one by one, and keep a record of what is done and what is not done. Then at the end, it will organize everything into kind of a packaging, okay? And then it will hand it off to you. This is what a synthetic intelligence AI. This is like basically right before like artificial general intelligence, AGI. We're like close to that. So where is the human involved? Why are we even here? It's essentially these final two things. It's decision making. And I've said this, if you guys remember from one of my first lessons, I said, good news, you now get paid to make decisions. This lesson I gave in June. I gave this lesson in June. I said, the good news is you're not paid to make decisions. And that was generally true, but it's really true now. Because you don't even have to choose which softwares to use. Here's the more important thing. You guys have seen me do sales funnels before. You have marketing, let's say social media, paid advertising, and cold outreach, right? Then what you do, you send people to some kind of website or a page or a download. You make sales. You maybe make some upsells. You get them on your email list or newsletter, and then you actually fulfill the product, okay? So what's happening right now is that your ability to execute on something like this is now so fast that your new job is to come up with ideas, okay? Because execution is being commoditized. Do you know what that means? That means that actually doing the tasks is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, okay? So what I want you to do is think about this blue here, the products that you build, as like an ecosystem, okay? And in the center of the ecosystem, there's personal brand. Sometimes the common denominator is you. The common denominator could be a parent company, like a larger company that has a lot of like sub-brands or sub-companies. Think of Procter & Gamble. If Procter & Gamble comes out with something, you probably trust it. Why? Because Procter & Gamble owns half of the grocery store, okay? Then it could be around an expertise. So maybe the expertise is AI, maybe the expertise is software, maybe like you'll notice that I always have stuff about books because I'm an expert on books. Maybe you have expertise on digital marketing, relationships, meditation, or whatever it may be, whatever your thing is. It could be an expertise or a system or a theory. Okay. So, like the 7 habits of highly effective people, it's like a methodology. Does that make sense? So, you can build an ecosystem around some parent company, an expertise, or some kind of system. This is a new reality. You want to build funnels and marketing systems that all go into the same ecosystem. Does this make sense? So instead of having one marketing funnel where you have a product, you launch it, and then try to build that business, you want to start building lots of different funnels. It could be for different sub-products within your company, or even different companies in general, but you want all of them to go into the same ecosystem. The thing that kind of keeps them all, that binds them all together is you, your email list, okay? And these one to many calls. You'll notice that we do a lot of these. Because what does that do? It controls your personal brand. Does this make sense? So we've been talking about this forever, which is you got to execute fast, fail fast, lean startup, get in the arena. There's a million ways to say it, right? But it's throw up a website, get an AI generated commercial, throw some meta ads, DM 1,000 people, get some people going. If you can't do it yourself or you're not sure, hire someone to do it. It's either going to be time or money. But what I want you guys to think for the next 5 years of your business career, that this is where we're at, okay? We are now officially here. Meaning that technology as it relates to time, if you look at 1600 and 1800, this 200-year period, what's the distance between this line and this line? It's barely anything. Nothing really changed. Whereas, let's say the same amount of time now to 200 years in the future, the distance between the two lines is incalculable. It's going to be off the page. This over 200-year period, there's a little bit of change. Maybe the printing press, some agricultural thing, ship, light bulb, important things. But now, and why is this happening? It's happening because we're now using technology to make technology. And now we're using intelligent technology to make intelligent technology. So I just get excited about this, or it could be a warning. It doesn't really matter. But your job, if you want to not be on like universal basic income, because robots in software is going to take over everything and there's going to be like just a few winners. If you don't want to be the slave of the economy, whatever idea you have, you need to have 10 ideas and you need to build quickly and you put them all into an ecosystem where they all connect. This allows you to launch the next one faster because you have an email list and trust and an ecosystem whereby you can use that to launch the next one. So this is my lesson for the day. One, this is the old way of making decisions. Two, your job is to now come up with the problems and make decisions on what the next pivot is after you've been given the solution. So discernment. And because execution is so fast now, you need to build an ecosystem around you or your company, an expertise system, a theory, such that you can launch things very quickly and test lots of different things for your company. And whatever you think is fast is way too slow. By the time you've figured it out and learned the next thing, it will probably be outdated.